We played this clip yesterday. Mitch McConnell giving an address. I think it was some type of press conference. And he had another moment where he froze. Now, obviously, like I've been complaining for quite a while, of the geriatric nature of our politicians, particularly the Democrats. Frankly, I don't care how old or infirm Republican politicians are. If they were all in a coma, I'd be happier. I'm not going to play that clip of Mitch McConnell again, but it's interesting. Here's Laura Ingraham talking about this. The politics around this are really interesting, not just in terms of the election, but recall now I am not convinced 100% of this, because Democrats would have to change the rules, and it's unclear as to whether Manchin and Sinema would vote to override the parliamentarian, to change the rules, et cetera, et cetera. If Dianne Feinstein resigned and vacated her seat on the judiciary, the claim has been there is no way to replace her there. Now, it is very difficult to figure out, frankly, from where I sit, and yeah, I've talked to many people who have given me different answers as to whether the Democrats could replace her. It would involve one of those things like the nuclear option type of thing that, we've seen it with bills. I'm not sure that we couldn't see it with the organizing rules of the Senate. But with all that in mind, here's Laura Ingraham complaining about Mitch McConnell.
But Republicans can't Feinstein McConnell. In other words, let him continue on like this. It's cruel, and it also negates their ability to make Biden's own decrepit state an issue in 2024. And by the way, whomever the GOP Senate chooses to replace McConnell should not be his establishment understudy. Instead, he or she should reflect the majority views of the party on China, on the border, on the deep state, the need to reform it, Ukraine, and trade. As I said the other night, we've already won the debate on the big issues in the GOP, and there's no going back to 2005, kids. Joining me now.
I'm not sure I fully understand at all what she's talking about.
Who's this hidden for?
I don't know if she's trying to get Rick Scott in there. I mean, I guess back in 2005, Rick Scott was actually performing Medicaid fraud, so it's hard to assess. Nevertheless, and we should say, it's not so much that the Republicans are Feinsteining or that the Democrats are Feinsteining the Feinstein. I mean, the reason why they're holding back is because of threats from Republicans, from Mitch McConnell, that he would not allow a replacement on the Judiciary Committee. But leave aside the sort of the implicit lies there. We could be getting into a situation, because presumably if McConnell has to resign, then they're going to need someone's going to step into his role, and it's unclear as to whether they could hold their positions on their committees. They probably could, but surely, the implications of missing one person on a committee, or that person not being able to show up at the committee so much because they have to do leadership jobs, there may be sort of like one of those, we'll trade our hostage for your hostage type of situation. I haven't seen anybody write about this yet, but I would imagine there's going to be some talk around this. The other thing is that Mitch McConnell was determined this time around to get good Senate candidates because he wanted to retake the Senate. Remember last time it was Rick Scott, and Rick Scott, just recruited a bunch of loonies. Their Senate recruiting has been better this time around. But it is unclear where support will go in the absence of Mitch McConnell if there's a different leadership in the Senate. And Blake Masters is going to jump into the race in Arizona. I don't know who
Versus Kerry.
I don't know which one is better or worse, frankly, for Gallego. But nevertheless, that's an issue going into this election. It's also an issue because in a month, there's going to be a big fight over the budget. Now, McConnell doesn't have as much say in that because it ends up heads to the Senate. But this is, McConnell is probably the best strategist they have, and certainly been the best, Republican leader in the Senate in my lifetime. He was able to get 200 plus horrible judges sitting on the bench. He was the one who orchestrated the takeover of the Supreme Court. And I just don't know if there's anybody else in the Republican caucus who's going to be able to sort of like have that level of savvy.
Hope not.
But, I don't want to wish ill on any specific individual person. So let me just wish ill on the entire Republican caucus in the Senate and hope that it's distributed in a way that is effective.